My name is Ryan. I'm currently working as a driver for a female CEO. My employer, Miss Smith, is a kind woman respected for her generous donations to various causes. She should be coming out soon, right? I glanced at the clock, confirming that the dinner meeting was about to end. Just then, Miss Smith appeared from the restaurant and smiled warmly at me. Thank you for waiting, Ryan. I opened the back seat door, and Miss Smith got in with a smile. Hey, hold on a second. That's a nice car you got there, and with a personal driver, too. The loud voice came from a man who looked unmistakably like a mafia. Behind him, a group of similarly tough-looking men followed, 1, 2, 7 in total. I need to get the car moving quickly. I shut the back seat door and swiftly got into the driver's seat. I started the engine and was about to drive away. But no, Ryan, you can't. There's someone in front of the car. Damn it. Too late. I'm sorry, Miss Smith. A man blocked our path, grinning wickedly right in front of the car. I couldn't just run him over, even if he was mafia. Our company's reputation was at stake. Hey, open up. If you don't, we'll break it down. The mafia banged on the car and grabbed the door handle. What the? It's unlocked. Damn it. In my haste, I hadn't locked the car, and the men flung the doors open. Miss Smith and I were forcibly dragged out of the car by the men. Let's see that rich face of yours. One of the mafia grabbed Miss Smith by the chin. Jake, doesn't this face look familiar to you? Whom? Oh yeah, I've seen her on TV. She's that rich lady CEO. Lucky us, running into someone with so much money. The man called Jake looked at Miss Smith's face, clearly thrilled. And she's quite the looker, too. We're going to have some fun with this one. Jake smirked as he eyed Miss Smith up and down. What do you want? Miss Smith asked curtly, and Jake nodded. I'm Jake, underboss of the Golden Vipers. I want money. Hand it over. Jake laughed heartily as he spoke. You've been donating to some children's homes or something, right? And a whole $1 million at that. Instead of giving to all those random places, how about you donate to us instead? Jake leaned in close, but Miss Smith glared at him. From up close, I want to use my money to help those in need. You guys don't look like you're in need, so I'm not interested in giving it to you. What did you just say, you rich? Are you looking down on the mafia? How dare you talk to me like that? Despite Jake's enraged shout, Miss Smith remained unfazed. I have more appointments after this. If you don't have any real business, I'll be leaving now. There's no way I'm letting you go just like that. As Miss Smith tried to stand, Jake grabbed her arm tightly. Hey, let's take this lady CEO back to the office. A woman like her will be eager to hand over the cash once we threaten her a bit. Jake's crude smile made my blood boil. You bastard. Ryan, stop. It's okay. Miss Smith stopped me as I was about to shout in anger. But Miss Smith, when I looked at her, she shook her head. She then turned back to the grinning mafia. Fine. I'll go with you to your office, but this man is just a driver. He has nothing to do with this. Please let him go. Miss Smith, she's about to be taken by the mafia, yet she's still protecting me. Just a driver, what a kind person. But I can't let them take her. Moved by Miss Smith's words, I stepped in front of her. Miss Smith is my benefactor. I can't allow her to be taken to a mafia office. What's this? Stepping up like you're somebody, you little nobody? With those words, Jake punched me hard in the stomach. Ryan. Since he's so eager to protect her, let's take him along, too. It'll be more fun to make him watch what we do to his precious boss. Jake ordered his men to drag us both away. We were forcibly loaded into the mafia's car and taken to their office. Once there, the men inside bowed their heads to Jake. Hey, where's Boss Carson? He's out right now. We don't know when he'll be back. Poof. That's convenient. Confirming that the boss was absent, Jake took us to his own room. This place brings back memories. As I was being carried through the office like luggage, I muttered those words without thinking. Haw. Oh, it's nothing. Once inside, Jake forced Miss Smith and me to sit on the floor. All right, let's continue the money talk. I want that $1 million, too. Your company makes enough to donate that much, right? That's not something I can just hand over on a whim. When Miss Smith refused, Jake slapped her across the face. What do you think you're doing to Miss Smith? I jumped up in anger and punched Jake in the face. Startled, Jake swung back at me, but I dodged and hit him on the other cheek. Ryan, stop. Miss Smith's voice made me freeze. If I really let loose, I could take these guys down and get Miss Smith out of here easily. But if I do, my past might be revealed. I glanced at Miss Smith's face. If my past comes out, I might not be able to work for her anymore. As I hesitated, a huge mafia who had been watching from behind tackled me to the ground. Another mafia then punched me in the face. Damn it. I'm getting beaten. Unable to resist, I was pummeled by the mafia. Ryan, are you okay? Miss Smith rushed over to me as I lay on the floor, gently placing my head on her lap. This is terrible. I'm so sorry I got you involved in this. Hearing her cry made me feel even worse. Hey, we're not done talking yet. Look at my face, your driver punched me twice, so how about you pay $2 million more? Jake pointed to the cheek I had punched. Honestly, I was planning to have some fun with you since you looked pretty when I saw you outside, but now that I see you up close, you're just some old hag over 30, so I'll pass. So, are you going to pay up, or are you going to hell? You dare speak to Miss Smith like that? And $2 million for just 2 punches? I'll never forgive this mafia scum. Looking up at Miss Smith, I saw her biting her lip, deep in thought. Maybe she was considering negotiating the amount. Miss Smith, worried, I called out to her softly. She gave me a pale smile. It's okay. I'll find a way to solve this. What are you whispering about with your driver? You've got only 2 choices. With those words, Jake approached us, grabbing Miss Smith by the chin and forcing her to look up. Pay $3 million, or take a one-way trip to the afterlife. Shoes. I saw tears welling up in Miss Smith's eyes as she was held by the chin. You insult Miss Smith, someone I deeply respect, and then threaten her life if she doesn't pay? How dare you tell her she's headed to hell right in front of me? Hey, who do you think you are, talking to Miss Smith like that? Oh, what's this? The driver's angry, huh? Jake sneered at my words, mocking me. If I stand by and do nothing, Miss Smith will be in serious danger. I can't just watch this happen. Even if my past gets exposed, I have no choice but to take these guys down. I made up my mind and decided to take out the mafia in front of me. Give me 1 minute. I'll handle this. I gently patted Miss Smith's trembling shoulder as I held her in my lap and quickly stood up. Don't do anything reckless. Ignoring Miss Smith's plea, I charged at the stunned mafia. I knocked out one of the huge mafia who couldn't react in time with a punch to the jaw. What are you doing? Are you seriously thinking of taking on all of us? I smoothly took down another mafia standing nearby. In no time, only Jake was left standing. What the hell are you? This is crazy. How are you beating us all? Jake was shocked as I continued to take down the larger mafia. He started backing away, looking terrified. Without answering his question, I closed in on Jake and landed a heavy punch to his midsection. How? How is Ryan that strong? Miss Smith's voice trembled with surprise from behind me. I turned to her with a wry smile and offered her my hand. We'll talk later. Let's get out of here now. I took Miss Smith's hand and started to leave the room. I know where your company is. Don't think you'll get away with this. You messed with the underboss of Golden Vipers, and you won't get off easy. Jake shouted from where he lay on the floor, but we didn't look back as we exited the room. As we stepped out of the office, some of the older Mafia members who had been with Golden Vipers for a long time caught sight of me. A few of them exclaimed in surprise, but I ignored them and walked past. Once we were outside and far enough from the office, I finally stopped. Miss Smith, I'm so sorry for putting you in such danger. Ryan, this wasn't your fault. In fact, thank you for saving me. Miss Smith smiled warmly and continued speaking. And about your past, about that, it's okay. I won't ask about it until you're ready to tell me. Miss Smith's promise gave me a sense of relief. It looks like I'll still be able to work as Miss Smith's driver. But more importantly, I can't let my guard down. Jake won't give up that easily. A week after the incident, I was waiting in the car as usual, prepared to drive Miss Smith to her next appointment. We should leave soon if we want to make it on time. Is her meeting running late? As I glanced at the clock, wondering why Miss Smith was taking so long, I suddenly heard a woman scream. What? What's going on? I got out of the driver's seat and looked toward the building where our office was located. I saw people running out, screaming. Several companies operate in the building, but the ones coming out were all employees from our company. Is something happening at the office? Could it be those Golden Vipers guys again? I rushed into the building and hurried to our office floor. As I suspected, it's them again. Inside the office, I spotted Jake and the hulking Mafia. The Mafia were wielding bats, and the office was in complete disarray. They were mercilessly smashing computers with their bats. The employees were all pressed against the walls, trembling with fear. Try and stop us if you can. We're Mafia from the Golden Vipers. Jake shouted gleefully. Ignoring the employees' attempts to hold her back, Miss Smith stepped in front of Jake. Everyone, get out of here quickly. I'll handle this. Go on, hurry. Miss Smith commanded her employees, glaring at Jake with unwavering resolve. Though anxious, the employees followed her orders and fled the company. Now, only the Mafia, Miss Smith, and I remained in the office. Wow, protecting your employees first. What a perfect boss. But I don't care about them. My targets are you and that driver over there, of course. I can't let my employees get hurt, Miss Smith retorted, even as Jake grabbed her by the collar, making it hard for her to breathe. Let go of her right now. Why should I? What makes you think I'll do what you say? Anyway, Miss Smith, hurry up and pay me the $3 million and hand over that arrogant driver. I won't be satisfied until I beat him to a pulp. My answer hasn't changed. I refuse. Now let go of me. Oh, is that so? With those words, Jake lifted Miss Smith off the ground by her collar. Stop it. Miss Smith struggled, kicking her legs in the air. Miss Smith. Hey, knock it off. I rushed over to them, raising my hand to punch Jake, who was still holding Miss Smith by the collar. With both hands occupied, Jake couldn't defend his face, and I landed a solid punch. Ow. Get him. Don't underestimate him like last time. Spitting out blood-tinged saliva, Jake ordered the other Mafia to attack. The Mafia, grinning confidently, seemed to think they could beat me as long as they didn't let their guard down this time. We're ready, and we've got weapons, too. Doesn't matter. Weaklings stay weak no matter what they're holding. With that, I charged toward the hulking Mafia. They sneered, laughing at me for coming at them unarmed. Ryan, don't do this. Miss Smith shouted in a voice full of despair, covering her eyes as if she couldn't bear to watch. They think numbers matter in a fight? It doesn't make a difference how many of these guys there are. The Mafia, uncoordinated and clumsy, were easy to take down. They tried to attack all at once but ended up getting in each other's way. Without taking a single hit, I systematically knocked them out one by one. As fewer and fewer mafia remained standing, Jake's expression changed from smug confidence to sheer disbelief. What the hell is going on? Why, you idiots! He's just one unarmed civilian. The cocky grin vanished from Jake's face as he struggled to comprehend what was happening. This is the end for you. You're the only one left. This can't be real. We all got taken out by just one guy. Jake muttered in shock as I swiftly subdued the remaining mafia. He shook his head in denial, unable to accept reality. No way. There's no way you could take us all down by yourself. Jake screamed, charging straight at me. I smirked, using his momentum to throw him to the ground with a hard slam. Jake hit the floor with a heavy thud, writhing in pain. Do you even know who I am? I'm the underboss of Golden Vipers. If you lay a hand on me, boss won't let you off easy. Jake, battered and bruised, somehow managed to stand up and threatened me. So what if you're the underboss of Golden Vipers? That means nothing to me. What? You're not scared of the mafia, even though you're just a civilian? The fact that someone like you could become the underboss says a lot about how low the bar is. With that, I delivered a powerful kick to Jake's gut. He groaned, doubling over and collapsing to the ground. The other mafia were all down, leaving the room eerily quiet. Wait a second, is Miss Smith okay? Snapping back to reality, I quickly looked around for Miss Smith. She was in the corner of the room, watching me intently. Miss Smith, are you all right? I approached Miss Smith, who had been grabbed by the collar earlier, and she looked at me with a puzzled expression. You're a bit ruffled. Oh, thank you. I'm fine. But hearing my words, Miss Smith quickly straightened her disheveled collar. She glanced at the fallen mafia and the groaning Jake, then finally turned her gaze back to me. Ryan, who exactly are you? You promised I wouldn't have to ask, but... She looked at me with a puzzled expression, and all I could do was give a wry smile. It seems I can't keep it hidden any longer. Given everything that had happened, I knew it was time to reveal my past. There was no point in staying silent any longer. Just as I was about to speak, Jake interrupted by shouting, "Damn it! This isn't over. You'll pay for this. Miss Smith, please wait for a moment." I knelt down in front of Jake, who was clutching his stomach and whining. You better remember this. I'll bring this company down no matter what it takes. Jake spat venomously as he sat on the floor, and I sighed. Still not giving up, huh? Fine. I'll call your boss for you. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. The boss? Who are you calling? The cops? Ha. Good luck with that. The police around here are in our pocket. Jake sneered, thinking he had the upper hand, but I just grinned. I'm not calling the cops. I'm calling your boss, Boss Carson. What? Boss Carson? That's right. Boss Carson, the head of Golden Vipers. The phone rang a few times before someone finally picked up. This is Carson. Who's this? I don't recognize the number. Hello, it's been a while. This is Ryan. When I introduced myself, I heard Carson sharply inhale in surprise. Ryan? It's been a long, long time. What's going on? Jake, the underboss of Golden Vipers, and some of his lackeys caused a scene at my workplace. I've got them detained. Can you come pick them up? Give me the address. You're there, too, right? I'll be there immediately. After I gave him the address of the company, he quickly ended the call. All right, your boss will be here soon. How do you even know his number? Jake asked in confusion, but then a sly grin spread across his face. Well, whatever. When he gets here, you're finished. Jake's bravado made me chuckle. A few minutes later, Boss Carson literally burst into the room, followed by several of his men. He was out of breath, clearly having rushed to get here. "You got here fast, Carson. I thought you'd take longer." "It was much quicker than I expected." Breathing heavily, likely from rushing to prevent me from leaving, Carson caught his breath as Jake spoke up. "Boss, do something about this jerk. He laid hands on me, the underboss of Golden Vipers, and my men. If you let this slide, I'll lose all respect." Jake, still thinking Carson was on his side, shouted in frustration, but Carson didn't even glance at him. "Ryan? Is it really you? Ryan, it's been so long." With those words, he embraced me, tears streaming down his face. "Boss, you know this guy?" Jake asked, shocked by his strange behavior. "What? Boss Carson, the head of Golden Vipers, knows Ryan? What's going on?" It wasn't just Jake who was shocked. Miss Smith, who had been quietly observing the situation, also spoke up in surprise. "I've kept my past hidden, but I used to be the underboss of Golden Vipers 8 years ago." "You were a mafia?" "Yes. I have no criminal record, but it's true. I was part of Golden Vipers 8 years ago. After a certain incident, I left the mafia world and was taken in by this company." "Wait, you were the underboss of my organization?" Jake exclaimed, and Carson continued the story. "Yes, Ryan was the most trusted underboss I ever had, and he was even a candidate to be the next boss. But during a gang conflict, Ryan was in a serious car accident when a rival group rammed his car. He lost his fiancée in that accident, and after that, he decided to leave the mafia life." "That's right. It's all in the past now, but I'm just so glad to see you again." "So you were our underboss? I've heard legends about your strength, but you had already retired by the time I joined, so I never saw your face." Jake then dropped to his knees and bowed deeply to me. "What's with calling me like that?" The way he groveled made my skin crawl. As Jake forced a sycophantic smile, "In Golden Vipers, you are a legend. I had no idea it was you. Please forgive me for my ignorance." Jake bowed so low that his forehead nearly smacked the floor. I looked at him with cold eyes, unmoved by his sudden apology. "After everything you've done, an apology doesn't mean anything to me. Boss, no, it's not my place as someone who's left the organization, but say whatever you need to, Ryan. Then I'll be frank. Do you know that Jake has been targeting civilians? An underboss who openly attacks companies during the day isn't doing the organization any favors." You're right. I didn't realize he'd gone this far." Carson nodded at my words, falling silent for a moment as he pondered. "It's strange that this hasn't blown up into a bigger problem before now. Boss, I apologize. I might have gone a bit too far this time, but I was about to get $3 million from this woman. I plan to give a good portion of it to the organization as tribute." "You idiot. Did you really think you could get away with extorting that much money through such methods?" "I'm sorry. I was short-sighted." Jake quickly bowed his head as Carson roared at him. "Abusing your position as underboss and endangering the organization can't be overlooked. I'm going to strip you of your rank and expel you from Golden Vipers to make you take responsibility. That sounds fair." I nodded in agreement, satisfied with his decision. Jake's face turned pale at the mention of being expelled. "Wait, please. You can't just expel me out of nowhere. Isn't a demotion or pay cut more appropriate? Are you defying the boss's orders now? Watch your mouth." With that, Carson struck Jake, sending him flying across the room. "You brought this on yourself. You never had what it takes to be the underboss of Golden Vipers. I made a mistake putting you in Ryan's place after he left. No way. I'm fit to be the underboss. Please reconsider. I can still be of use to Golden Vipers." No matter what you say, the expulsion stands. Jake staggered to his feet, then collapsed at Carson's feet, clinging to him desperately. You've been good to me ever since I joined Golden Vipers. I've tried my best to repay that kindness. Please forgive me. Jake began to sob, but Carson ignored him. I think it's time for him to take responsibility for his actions. Got any suggestions? I glanced at Miss Smith and pointed at Jake. Miss Smith was the one directly affected by this man, so it's only right that she decides what happens to him. What would you like to do with him? Me? I can decide. Miss Smith asked, looking a bit unsure as she glanced over at Carson. Yeah, the organization has already expelled him. The decision is yours. In that case, I'd like him to work to help those in need. There are so many people in Japan who are struggling, and there's always a shortage of hands. I'd like to see him put to work helping others. Interesting idea. There's a nursing home we run that's separate from Golden Viper's operations. Maybe we could have him work there. What? A nursing home? No way. I'm not doing that. Jake tried to refuse, but Carson glared at him. Shut up. Just working there isn't much of a punishment, though. Here's what we'll do, he'll donate half of his salary, and we'll assign someone to watch him around the clock to make sure he doesn't cause any trouble and actually works hard. Miss Smith smiled warmly at Carson's proposal. I think that's a wonderful idea. That's a very Miss Smith kind of peaceful solution. I couldn't help but smile at her kindness. Hey, you're not just going to decide my fate without my input? What about my? Saying this, you don't get a say when we're talking about your punishment. Carson shot back, dismissing Jake's protests. There's no way I'm working at some nursing home. I won't do it. Is that so? If you can't go willingly, we'll just have to drag you there. With that, Carson ordered his men to restrain Jake. Let go of me. I was the underboss. Jake thrashed and flailed, trying to resist, but the men tied up his hands and feet and lifted him off the ground. I'm not taking care of old people at a nursing home. No way. Jake continued to thrash and resist as they carried him away. I sighed, leaned close to his ear, and whispered, we could always lie to Miss Smith, say we sent you to the nursing home, and just dump you in the ocean instead. I'm sure Boss Carson was tempted to make you disappear for real. You should be grateful you're still breathing. The ocean? That's how the mafia settle things. Miss Smith is being merciful by letting you work at a nursing home. The ocean or the nursing home, exactly. If you don't want to work, fine. We'll send you swimming. But if you'd rather avoid that, you'd better start cooperating. I whispered in a low voice as Jake looked up at me, staring into my eyes. Jake seemed to realize that I was deadly serious. All right. I'll work at the nursing home. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Well, if you're willing to work voluntarily, that's the best outcome. Miss Smith, unaware of my threat, clapped her hands together and smiled. We'll untie your legs so you can walk on your own. Carson's men sat Jake down on the floor, and I untied his feet. Jake stood up and, facing Miss Smith and Carson, bowed his head. I decided to reflect on my actions and work at the nursing home. Please keep an eye on me to make sure I'm doing it right. Miss Smith beamed at his declaration. Of course. I'll make sure you're doing well. Jake's trying to secure himself by asking Miss Smith to watch over him, hoping she'll forget and he'll avoid punishment later, I thought bitterly, glancing at Miss Smith, who was still smiling warmly at me. Oh well. He'll be monitored 24/7 in a civilian world he once looked down on. Taking care of the very civilians he used to despise is the perfect punishment for someone as prideful as him. He may think it's better than being dumped in the ocean, but I could already picture the struggles he would face. Good luck. I extended my hand to Jake, offering a handshake. As soon as he grasped my hand, I squeezed it tightly, crushing his fingers. Jake winced in pain, and I leaned in close, whispering in a low voice, "I'll be watching you, too. The moment you step out of line, you're done. It'll be easy to make you disappear in an accident. Don't think Miss Smith will always be there to protect you." After driving the point home, I released his hand and smiled warmly. Jake, now visibly shaken, made no further resistance as he walked out of the company on his own. 6 months passed since Jake was sent to the nursing home. At first, he was useless, but now I heard he had gotten the hang of the job. Recently, he even sent a letter of thanks to Miss Smith. It's amazing how much a change in environment can affect someone. Who would have thought that guy could turn into a decent person? Jake now said that working at the nursing home had become his calling. Meanwhile, I continued working as Miss Smith's driver, never once questioned about my past. I always figured that day would come eventually, and today it finally did. 6 months after the incident, I was summoned to the CEO's office. "I guess she's finally decided that she can't keep a former mafia on staff. All right. I'll accept it gracefully and thank her for everything." I knocked on the door. "It's Ryan. Come in." Entering the room, I found Miss Smith sitting there, looking a bit nervous. "Have a seat." I sat down in the chair opposite her, noticing that she seemed hesitant to speak. She's too kind to fire someone easily. That's probably why she's struggling to say it. "I'm sorry for keeping my past a secret. I knew I'd have to resign if my mafia background was discovered." "Oh, I see. Yes, I wanted to stay by your side, helping someone who cares so much about others. Thank you for everything." "Wait, hold on a second. You called me in to fire me, right?" No. I want you to stay with me, too. But not as a CEO and a driver. Would you consider dating me with marriage in mind?" Miss Smith, her face flushed red, asked me, her voice trembling slightly. "If you're okay with me, I'd be honored." Surprised, I replied, smiling at this unexpected turn of events.